Yeah. we used to do. No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? At all? Do you think about the things we used to do? No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years has gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel
Something before you talk. I don't wanna make it hard for you. Broke down, you've been looking for parts of me. This time I'm just looking to part from you. For you it's a red sign, for me it's the right time. Like green lights in the sky, and the sun sets in the west, then it goes by. This time I'ma drive, this life is a ride. Make sure that you live it, make sure that you try. Promise you I won't stop, not until I get by. Take a minute, just breathe. Take a second, don't cry.
I thought that I could be alone. You lost your powers over me. Alone. I'm okay without you, yeah. I thought that I could be alone. You lost your powers over me. tired of being the one you judge. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired.
Welcome, everybody, to Esports Weekly. We are just a little bit of time away from that LAN territory for our summer split, but we do have this week to go. My name's LaTigress, joined, of course, by Pretty Hair and Gormizer. What up, what up?
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was your weekend?
It's pretty good. It felt really long, even though it was only 2 days. Very slow days.
They always are. They always are.
Well, now it's the start of the week, guys. So we get PPL action, we get console action, a bit of a break from the PGS, so we'll talk about how things ended up shaking up last week. But is there anything in particular from the last week that's got you extra excited going into this one?
I mean, for me, and I know Blake really excited about this too, we got to see the debut of Diggy Dog for NIP. Blake was like, he just came to me in the morning, one of our producers in the back, was just like so excited to like finally get to see Diggy Dog play in the EU PPL after, watching him and loving him probably more than I do all those weeks in the Australian PGS.
Having that player make the trip all the way over to a different continent. First time for everything,
it's
right?
It's like a completely different environment too, where it's like, hey, you're used to Australia, never like any snow, anything like that. You probably don't even know what cold means.
That's true.
To Sweden.
How like far north latitudinally, if that's even a word, is Sweden?
Went from like down here to up here.
Yeah, it's really big,
It's like,
isn't
I
it?
think it's actually
It's like pretty massive
maybe not
country.
like exact opposites, but it's like literally flip side of
Is
the
that
world.
like, is it like Maine, Is it like Maine northish?
I think it's more north.
More north
norther?
than Maine? Like Canada. Man, we got to brush
think
up
it's
on
up
our
there.
geography. You should make some geography
I might-
Yeah,
questions.
that'll be the theme for our next
Next week
trivia.
will just be, here's a globe, find Sweden.
We're just wrestling with the globe, trying to get it.
I'd be down with that. Maybe when I think about it over the next weekend, we'll
All right,
work something
all
in
right.
there. But we have a lot to go through today. First thing up on the docket, as always, is the console series. And we almost know all of the teams that are qualifying.
What?
Blake put up a lower third that said, I never said that.
So I said nothing. But with the console series, we had teams that qualified. We had Fable and Vex, so we know those are coming on down. Was there any surprises with that?
I mean, I think there's always a little question mark in North American Xbox, right? Those tend to be pretty competitive, but I think, Fable's been fairly on the dominant side. You got to say maybe 80-20 at this point. They make a roster change as well. They give up SoldierBot, who was with them at that previous LAN, for Cool Matt, and it all seems to be working out so well for them.
And when it came down to it, again, it was just Vexed. I think versus Unicorn, it was one of those
Yeah,
matchups
yeah.
where it's just like, all right, the guys that have come to LAN versus the team that, again, even if you're up and rising, it's these guys that have regularly made it to LAN. So being able to come through, it has been, I think, difficult for some of the teams who are coming into the scene to just defeat those top dogs, but it's also good competition.
So what
It's
did
really
you think
tough.
of Cool Matt?
I mean, you see some flexibility here. He's playing the Willow. The Sniper play was really impressive. Sniper, in general, has definitely been on the rise for console. It really didn't have much of a presence at Worlds. It's gone through the same ups and downs as the actual PC Sniper. It's gotten all the patches. They're all caught up now. Even with some FOV changes that most people aren't liking, Cool Matt still seemed to be pretty confident with it.
And then later on today, we're actually going to have a peek into EU PS4. Do you think that
Yeah.
there's a chance that Flashpoint don't make it through, or are you pretty confident in their ability to come back?
Last LAN, they came into it, before the LAN, they were 30-0. They had not lost a single game every single time they played.
That's true.
I have a strong feeling they're probably not going to afford too much today.
I mean, they're LAN champs, right? They're not only have they, these other teams, they've qualified, they've been back to these LANs. These are the champs from that LAN. These are the teams that beat all the other teams that made it here. So I don't have a doubt in my mind.
Console boys are going to be coming down soon enough, so excited to see how things shake out. We have a little bit of a break between now and then when the LANs take place, but you can catch our PS4 finals happening later on today at 3 p.m. Eastern, broadcasted. So pretty stoked to know everybody that's coming on down. So going on from PPL and this last week that we saw, highlight moments from you guys.
I mean, for me, it's absolutely hands down got to be Rubu's,
didn't say
unofficial
TikTok.
pentakill. But he smacks everyone with Ashe, this character that we rarely ever even see.
The phrase I want to use for that, I can't actually use to describe it for broadcast.
X-rated.
Online. Afterward, I probably can, but
It's too gory.
A little bit too ridiculous to see that come out the way it did.
Yeah, man. That was really quite something. Those are the scores up there on your
Just
screen.
beat 'em.
He's just whooping ass.
How do you
with it,
come
man.
back after that? Like, that's one of those, like, that's a demoralizing play. First thing that happens is you just get team wiped by a single ash.
So many little things went right to make that happen too. It was really cool. There was like a shoulder bash that connected as well. He like,
Oh, yeah.
I was saying it on cast, right? I was ready to like hand him the MVP trophy for that fight before he even killed everyone. Like it was like this really kind of rough start for Splice that we'll get into it later, but I mean it's just really incredible stuff from Rubu all around.
So stepping away from NA a little bit and going over to EU, talked a little bit starting about Diggy Dog, but let's get a bit more into it and his performance here in week 1. What were your takeaways?
I mean, it was great, right? This was his debut. We talked a lot about like the lead up to it, his move, all the things, adjusting to it, and now we finally get to see him play, you know, against Mousesports, which traditionally was a matchup that NIP should win. We all kind of felt good about that. We all sort of agreed on that. But you just never know. Mousesports have been steadily climbing, steadily getting better. NIP, they've definitely been in a bit of a wishy-washy spot as well. And you never know how well Diggy Dog's going to be able to mesh, how well he's going to be able to fill the shoes of Simsalo and Lazy before him.
And it was one of those things, for me specifically, like watching them, it kind of felt like Splice at a different level where it's just like every week they were getting better with Simsalu there. And you're going into week 4 and you're like, well, you've taken away one of the factors that was giving you success, but it just seems seamless. Again, just another step forward, even with Diggy Dog coming in as his first week.
So as they move forward as a roster and the way the things that actually worked in with Diggy Dog clicking in are, what do you see as the future for NIP right now?
I hope it's bright, because it sure looks bright from my point of view. This is a team that has been, you know, in the good graces of Europe. They were at the top.
Yeah. They
They were really, frankly, 1 and 2 with Fnatic for the core of that Fnatic roster for a very long time. And I think there's just, you know, so many veterans on that team, maybe wanting to play so many different ways. I think it's great to add a guy like Diggy Dog who just comes in, and he sort of plays the game that's there for him. He plays along with the team. It's already there. They've sort of shaped themselves. Hopefully they have less voices sort of kind of shouting, trying to, you know, lead the pack, so to speak. But not to say that he doesn't have a voice, but I think he's a good addition.
But over in North America, we had our first ever Splice victory. So yay, congratulations to
Congrats,
them
yeah.
for bringing that through. I know all of us prediction-wise, none of us had predicted they would win because it's also that kind of until you prove us wrong sort of thing. But G Bunny being the addition, not just as a player, but that shot caller in game.
With the way things were going for them, and I think there were people on Twitter afterward who were even saying this, where it was just like, man, Splice, after going so long not winning, the first one they get is a 3-0, and everything about it looked pretty clean. Like, even being able to beat SK on, like, Fish Market, which is one of SK's maps, like, that's where they like to go if they don't think they're going to be successful. They like to kind of bring you into Fish Market and be like, we can win this set off of this map just by tilting you or doing whatever. This can be our turnaround spot.
And, you know, they did it in such a Splice way. They did it with their Victor. They did it with their Andro. They did it with all of the picks that really make this team special, that make this team a little bit different. Their comfort picks is what it took. And it wasn't, you know, you're right. It was that 3-0, so it's very kind of surprising almost to see that.
Because we'd seen many times where they got the first 2 games and then got reverse swept. So it was crazy to see them just go ahead and close it out after those 3 games.
Yeah. And I mean, SK, sort of like NIP, they were a team once at the top of North America. In Season 1, they qualified as the #1 seed over that G2 roster, if you can believe it. But, you know, the question at the start of Season 2, as we saw them lose and lose and lose, was how far would they fall? And the answer was to the rock bottom of North American PPL.
What do you think they have to do to try and pick themselves up from rock bottom?
No clue, man. No clue.
And it's one of those things that all the players, especially when you watch them individually, like, they play really well. They have the mechanics, and being able to watch them, like, they have the teamwork. And the question for me is just what goes wrong in those games that gives them that disadvantage. And I feel like that's something like Bitey probably knows what's going wrong. The question is whether or not you're like ready to make the changes necessary to shift away from that.
I mean, they're starting to get a little bit more flexible, right? They're starting to really lean on the Strogos, and Volko's carried numerous games now on it. They're starting to get a couple maps, like Splitstone Core seems to be one that's very, very good for them. So I think you start from the ground up. You got nowhere to go but up at this point.
Yeah.
Start to lean on that Drogos, lean on Splitstone Quarry. Hopefully, you know, over time, add more champions, add more maps that someone can hyper carry. I want to see Shady Shades taking over games again. You know, he's a veteran, right? He's this really, really great player from times past, but for me, he's kind of had yet to have that success again in the new era, so to speak, of all these players.
So for LAN, I believe Fnatic and G2 have secured their spot of attendance after their victories during this past week. Who do you think might be joining them?
I'm excited because it's tough to call in Europe. It still could be NIP. It still could be Na'Vi. And in North America, it still could be the Renegades. Could be the Envy. That's all you can really hope for in Week 5, right? You don't want to go into Week 5 basically having everything done and dusted. But if I have to put money on it, I'm saying it's probably going to be Envy and Na'Vi again.
I'd have to go the same way, especially with the way Envy played this last week. That was one of those things in Week 3. After that, I was really kind of iffy about whether or not they were still, like, I guess the team that we had seen before, and it definitely seemed like they went through like a rough patch. And then last week they played so phenomenally. And granted, it was an easier matchup for them, but it was just one of those, like, that is exactly the kind of set you need to kind of uplift you and be like, yeah, wait, we can actually do this, no problem.
I could see both. I could see upsets in either region. To be completely honest with you, I wouldn't be super surprised to see an upset in either or both regions.
Yeah, something crazy could shake out. But as far as our predictions and what we made last week, a little bit of craziness is all of us did not predict for Splice to take that one. But, you know, as I said during last Esports Weekly, since we had the same predictions and you were down, that meant that no matter what, that was going to continue to be the case.
You know, it's okay getting the Splice one wrong. I think, you know,
Yeah,
everyone
I would
gets
rather
it wrong.
be upset.
Now we
if
can
something like
finally
that
vote
happens.
for them over SK, and now it's SK's turn, frankly, to prove that they can get a win in the PPL.
But can Nick get a win with these percentages?
I've
of
been
prediction?
fragging, all right? I've been fragging up until this point. You feel like you're up on this high horse, right? Out in front, and then one pick can change it all, Gabriella. Trust me, I've been where I've stood where you stand, and I did not look down upon my
it's
peers
Gore
when
and
I
I
was up
both
there.
both there right now.
I know,
We're
and you see
sitting
how he
nicely at
conducts
the-
himself?
You know, I just
Like
gotta
a real
remind
class
you,
act?
it's my job
Like a real
over here.
class act over here.
in the
Just
chair one
Gore
two.
miser.
I have to lay it out
He
for the
acts
people.
like he's been there before, and you, I'm sorry, but you don't act like you've been there before. Is this the first time you're winning something?
What? Anyone who knows me knows that's not true, so I don't even have to defend myself.
Well, you won the caster, so.
Yeah. I won the
Oh, that was a
caster.
big
I have
win,
national
too. I had
championships.
a lot of money attached
That's a
to
big
it.
W.
Like,
Won't
Gore's
bring in
like, I
my
don't really
trophies.
care so much about these PPL picks.
all of a sudden, being at the top doesn't feel as good.
It feels so good.
You're in the top of my heart, Gore. You have that spot. But let's go ahead into week number 5. It's going to be our last week of the regular portion of the summer split. This is what we've got ahead. So few matches left for us to actually fight through, and then we'll know who our land representatives are at the end of it.
Yep. So the big ones are obviously going to be Tuesday there, NIP and Na'Vi, and of course the other one, Envious versus the Renegades on Friday. So you really we've got a great bookends, I think, for this week. We're starting and finishing very, very strong here with the two most important matchups. So you kind of want to watch the whole way through.
And the first one that's going to be up is NIP versus Na'Vi, and we're just talking about how they have to go head-to-head to try and fight for that last land spot. So, Gore, what are your thoughts?
I think this one, it's one that I could see going either way. It's like you had said, when it comes down to it, NIP have been really, really improving, but Na'Vi always tend to do best when their back's against the wall. It's one of those moments where it's just like, we might not make land. And to that, or to them specifically, that's kind of I think the switch that kind of turns it from, okay, we've been having some kind of poor games. We dropped a game
Right.
to Virtus Pro. We didn't look as clean as we could to, okay, we are going to be the team that beat Fnatic again.
And this is their old team, right? They got lazy swapping rosters to this Na'Vi and hoping to make land, right? Because they've made Worlds Finals, they make Vegas, they make the Spring Finals, the Masters Finals. So it's Na'Vi every single time. NIP has been absent, and that's not something we're traditionally used to seeing. So for lazy to leave, and you know, sensibly so to this team that has just been making land over him time and time again, for that to have potential to be upset and for him to not make land again with his new roster and have his old boys going off with Diggy Dog would be really something to see.
That has to add some kind of tension, right? And Diggy Dog making his first appearance in
Right.
the PPL could also make his first appearance at a land under a PPL team as opposed to a PGS.
And it's not like he's not accustomed to that as well, because he's made every single land that the PGS has ever been involved in. So he's not, like this NIP roster used to be, used to missing events. And it's not something that I think he came to NIP with the intention of doing. So I think we're going to have ourselves an all-out brawl.
But either way, someone's kind of losing
Someone's
something,
going home.
right? Somebody.
Someone's staying home, I should say.
Yeah, which isn't going to feel good, but when you have that head-to-head, the newest people brought to both rosters, there's that extra level of tension. Who did you guys predict is going to win this game?
I've got Na'Vi. I mean, in pressure situations, right? The World's Finals. I wouldn't consider Vegas as necessarily a pressure situation for them because they had such a crap event up to that point, and we're like it was like midway through the losers bracket that they actually got knocked out. So that was like a weird, very weird thing, an anomaly. Finals of every other event, winning 2 out of 3 of them that they've been to so far. So I've got them coming.
I've got Na'Vi, but for me, it feels kind of like a 55-45, where it's like as long as NIP do the right things, they can overcome Na'Vi. But if Na'Vi gets to play their game, it's going to be over.
Yeah.
The next match is Fnatic versus Virtus Pro, and I think with this, Fnatic obviously haven't been letting up any momentum whatsoever in their gameplay, so looking at Virtus Pro and just the changes they've made over time, trying to contend with these top teams in the PPL.
Fnatic's too far out in front of them. I think for my money, there's nothing I see VP coming up with that throws this squad off balance. If anything, it's Fnatic memeing on Virtus Pro and picking weird stuff that VP struggled to deal with.
It's going to be interesting to see, I want to say, how certain members of Virtus Pro can perform during this, because it's going to be one of those, again, like a matchup they shouldn't do well in, but I'm kind of interested, like, how many times can Madara, like, kill Bugsy or something like that? Like, how many times can they at least look like they could take on Fnatic in some of these fights? But there's a lot of things up against Mouse, up against Na'Vi even, where they're looking stronger, but Fnatic so far has pulled so far ahead of the group.
So more of those individual goals for each of them, trying to approach the situation, since Fnatic aren't leaving very much of an opening for Virtus Pro to break through with the victory. Now, with that being said, then, prediction-wise, I think we're all on the same page. Fnatic to take this one against Virtus Pro. Yeah,
especially with 0 pressure on them, right? Even if they're going down 3-0, it's still nothing to lose for them, right? So there's so much chance for them to just come back from literally any scenario, as bad as it may get.
With our third match, SK versus Envy, SK has become that team within North America that I think we held out for a while, hoping for them to pick themselves up. But now, as you said in that boat, prediction-wise, until they prove us wrong kind of thing.
Exactly. And I think this is... it sucks to say, but I think it's a good warm-up for Envy. They've got an important match this week. They need to get this win as well, right? They cannot be dropping this win. So this is an important match, but one that I think they are confident, and we are confident that they can win. The question for me is, everyone knows and assumes that they're going to win this, but how wonky do they get? Do they try anything new that they want to bring against the Renegades later on in the week? Are they stretching their limits here for SK? And if they do that, that's where I could see them potentially having something go catastrophically wrong.
For me, I'm kind of curious as to whether or not, performances like this are going to kind of like, I guess, mar them again the way that it did. Last time it went 5 games because SK looked dominant in the first 2, and then Envy was able to sweep it back. I'm just wondering, are they going to go ahead and start out at the beginning? So, you know what? Your Jogos was a pain last time. We're either going to draft against it or just going to outright ban it to make sure you don't have that.
That's the thing. I think you get this once. What you're seeing here in Vocal due to everyone on Splitstone. He's done it now to Envy and one other team, I believe. It may have been Splice, actually. Yeah, I think it was. And, you've got that respect now. People know it's coming. People are expecting that from you. That week, it wasn't really something Invocal had really done that way before. And again, I think you get that once, and I think the Envy will be prepared for it now.
Yeah, if you let that pop off on SK a second time around, that's on you. But predictions then for this match?
Envy here.
Envy, especially with how they played last week.
Pretty good stuff. I can't wait to get to the top plays on that later. But the next NA match that we have for that day is G2 Esports versus Splice. And G2, they've been pretty intense to watch.
Yeah, they've looked... they looked incredible in the spring split, but this is a whole different beast. The level of aggression and just the fact that it feels like they are all on exactly the same page, the same paragraph, the same sentence as each other. It's like it's just impenetrable beast in North America right now that I don't know how anyone takes down, and I think it might take someone from Europe to do it.
And it's in that area where Splice has been able to pull in a bunch of kind of different strategies, or at least different champions overall. They were able to, I think they looked at Willow. They've definitely pulled out Victor. And against some teams, I think that's kind of that's the change you need, right? Whereas man, they don't know how to play against Victor as well, especially with the way we play it, so we can make it work. G2 knows how to play against pretty much everything, so that is not a strategy that works quite as well against them.
They're so old. They've seen it all. They've been here, Cuss and Doe. have been here since that damn start of the thing, and then you've got Evil Eye and Bodies who have been with them for a year plus now, almost a year and a half. It's just, I don't know, nothing's going to get by them, so to speak, so I think you're right. I mean, even with these very spliced picks, Victor's have been seen. Victor's never been super in the meta, but I mean, as close as he may have ever been, G2 were certainly there, or at least most of that roster.
Though its aspects approach to Victor was pretty refreshing to see,
Oh, yeah.
not being afraid
Right
to
here.
back out if needed.
That play, exactly what you just said. The fact that the millisecond something is not going perfectly anymore, he'll drop the goggles, run away, get back to safety. And that's how you have to play Victor. He only works, operating with this razor-thin margin for error.
So then between G2 and Splice, who do you have officially?
G2.
G2.
Yeah, it's just been so fun to watch them and bringing out some interesting picks on their side. Granted, maybe for different reasons and stuff in the matchup, but potentially we'll see some craziness there. It's going to be Na'Vi and Mousesports up next, though, and I think one big talking point is just the Mutu, who's been going on to the Drokos and everything more, versus Andrew Doodle, who we've known to be playing these blasters.
Still sort of the same thing to be said for this matchup as Envy for theirs against SK. One that they should win, yes, but one where maybe they're looking to, push Mutu's champion pool a little bit more. But if they're pushing it too much, maybe there's a couple of missteps here or there. There's a small chance that Mousesports are able to take this one. Overall, though, in my book, this should be another Na'Vi victory.
I'll say if Na'Vi can lose a game to VP, they could definitely lose a game to Mouse, but it's, again, taking those steps in the right direction. Like,
you got to lose 3.
At what exactly happened that Mouse or that VP did that was successful, how do we stop it? You lose game number 2, and then Navi's like, well, 3 and 4 are ours, no problem. We know exactly what you want to do, what's good for you, and we're just going to stop it.
Well, that's the thing. You lose a game, sure, but Na'Vi isn't losing the sets against these teams. And in the end, while it could affect if you're winning all of your sets and you're thinking math differential, in this case, it hasn't really been as much the case. So.
And Mouse aren't in the running for LAN anymore. That's a big thing to note. They, how much fight can be in them, how much gas they have left in the tank, so to speak, to just try their asses off against a team that they really have no business beating. That would mean nothing for their season if they beat, other than bragging rights at this point and taking something away from Na'Vi. But this is an important match for Na'Vi to continue to win, to give themselves the best shot over NIP.
I'll say I think it'd be just as important in this kind of scenario, especially depending on how the NIP Na'Vi matchup goes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, everyone thinks Navi's going to win this one. If Mouse do win, they shake a lot of things up. I don't know if they shake it up enough that things change in the grand scheme of things, but it's just like that's the step up I think that Mouse need to kind of bring themselves, especially for like next split or looking at anything in the future, to feel comfortable and confident.
Yeah.
Do any of you predict that Mouse will be the upset in this case?
No. Na'Vi for
Going
me.
with Na'Vi. Yeah, like
putting your
we
head
said,
out on a chopping block.
Yeah.
even if they've dropped games here or there in the past, they've still been looking like the strong team that they've been for a while. But the next matchup is actually the age-old tale that got a little bit of a shake-up last time we saw them, when you have Fnatic versus Na'Vi, and we're so used to going to Game 5, but then the last time they faced off, Fnatic was able to shut Na'Vi down.
Yeah, these are really interesting ones here with NIP and Fnatic, because there is so much history between these two teams, specifically Theo and the Birdie Boy, and then you've got Perdo and Sheepa against Bugsy and Gera from their old D69 days. And technically, we've never seen this matchup because Diggy Dog's brand new to this roster. He hasn't played against some of the big dogs here, and this is the biggest question: is how does this roster now perform with and against Fnatic? And
I think the team like Fnatic, when you're thinking that they're being able to 3-0 people that they've just dominated before, so now going against NIP, who's trying to face off heavily against this team, then what do you think that they need to do to try and shake that up?
Beating Fnatic always comes down to beating Bittner and Fisheko, and it's much easier said than done.
It's one of those things that Fnatic's win conditions are, we have 5 players that play really well. For us to lose, 3 of them have to not perform to their normal standard. Like, not even have a great game. They just have to be okay for that day.
Yeah.
And that's how typically you could get them to lose. Is if, okay, Bittner, Fisheko, Bugsy aren't doing incredibly well that day.
I mean, you can beat. I would argue that you can beat them with 2 playing bad. When Tenor and Fishy weren't playing well in the Masters Finals, Fnatic were losing, and Bugsy is having this miraculous performance on Kinessa to keep them in the game. If he's not playing insane, they get blown out of the water here. What's important though is that you beat Fnatic early. And Fishy and Bittner have always been amazing, even on LAN when, there's more pressure, right? They win the spring finals, and I think that's an easier one to win the Masters finals because you have the Masters finals after the spring finals, right? If you lose, it's kind of like, all right, we'll brush it off. And like Na'Vi did, they go on, they win the next event. When they're already clinched, when there's no pressure on them, I don't see them choking.
So how do you think a player like Bonker contributes to the conversation in this match?
I mean, he was insane this last week.
Yeah.
He was incredible. He played a lot more DPS, a lot more hit scan, a lot more Leon than we've seen a lot of him. He's been sort of filling in that second tank role, but it looks like NIP are leaning a little bit more into that 3 DPS, and frankly, that is just what they are going to need to take down Fnatic. They are going to need a performance from Bonker like he had in this past week, or they've got no chance.
It's just one of those areas that Fnatic right now are beating everybody at Fnatic's game. No matter what Fnatic wants to play, they're going to be able to beat you with it. If they're doing double frontline or triple DPS, whatever they happen to be playing. And so you have to be able to match them with that. You have to be able to run a double frontline, run a triple DPS, and you have to run it so clean that it looks the same to the point where you could say, yes, feasibly we can take them down.
Can't forget where you come from if you're Bonker, though.
Yeah.
The bottom of the well.
It's his home. But in between NIP and Fnatic, who do you think's taking it home?
I've got Fnatic here. There's no pressure on him.
I've got Fnatic.
Yeah, I think the only pressure is they probably want to keep up there.
Right. You can't.
Undefeated
Yeah.
regular.
At this point, you literally have one set that is like, if you win your one earlier against Virtus Pro, which we all assume they will, you go into this one, you're like, man, well, we just have to win one more and we're 8-0 again.
They can't crack if there's no pressure. That's the theme, I think, in this one.
But back over to NA, Team Envy versus Renegades. And we saw some great play from both of these teams, whether you're looking at ClickU for Renegades, who's been a leader for a long time and
Right.
got back into those aggressive front lines, or Rubu, who had his moments where he's also been a fan of that play style.
I mean, he's been incredible. Both of these teams have definitely had their up and downs so far in this split, and this is a big one. Assuming everyone wins their matches earlier in the week, this one will decide our second team for the North American LAN.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
At the very last day, that's when we're going to figure it all out.
Yep.
But Rubu, I think the Nando's been a very popular pick. Obviously,
Yeah.
the Ashe that we kind of mentioned earlier. So when you're talking about these players, ClickU and Rubu, having adopted a lot of similar styles within the recent matchups, how do you think they are going to be when going head-to-head?
I mean, he's just been disgusting in this last week, and I think, it's easier to do this type of thing when you're up against a team you should be just, like, kicking their butts. And I think, should they be kicking the Renegades' butts? No. I think it's going to be kind of a bit of a bloodbath, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be easy for them. But you have to, ClickU as well, you can't be scared. You can't have those moments of hesitation. Because I think what's made G2 so special this split is just the absolute lack of hesitation, almost a lack of respect at times, of just being where you don't think they would be and having just all this just unbridled aggression in the backline with these front lines. And I think, ClickU versus Rubu, these front lines are going to decide a ton in this matchup.
I will say, out of all the front lines in North America, I think the three of them that always stand out are like Cuss now with the way he's been playing it.
Yeah.
But then it's ClickU and Rubu. Those are the next two on my list where it comes down to the fact that they're fun to watch because they play the role slightly different than I think what we see out of Europe. And Rubu, they have a little bit more aggression. They want to push a little bit harder. They can get just as many kills in certain scenarios as you would see out of a carry. And that's one of those things that I think makes them both excel at what they do.
I think the Frog Isle game, right? Toki and Rubu were top 2. 1 and 2. It was like 48K, I think, for the Terminus. I was like blown away that this Terminus was able to stay out in front. And then you had, I think, the Ashe at like 47,000 or something like that. So these two guys are very aggressive and hopefully can continue to be against the Renegades.
So then who wins the match?
Envy.
I have to go back to what
Closely.
I said before. It's 55-45, right? Envy, I think, have a distinct lead, but all it takes is either one mistake or one really good play from Renegades to really upset the balance.
I'm putting this one at like 52-48.
Yeah.
I think Envy,
It's
man.
real close.
It's coming down to the frontline play. I think Rubu and Toki do what they do again this week, and they get a win.
Well, there's only one match left after that. It's SK Gaming versus G2, the top seed versus the lowest seed.
Yeah.
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 So as far as with SK, you talked about even, yeah. I mean,
We'll give you a little bit more here,
I'll
Gabby.
tell you, G2, the last time they went up against SK, pulled out 4 DPS, and it looked fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 DPS, is that what you're saying?
5 DPS is the new meta.
You know, the reason you want to stick around for this matchup, I think, after you've watched all the important matchups for this week, is just God knows what you'll see. And I don't think you'll ever see anything as more eccentric in any of these matches, maybe forever, than you might in this one.
Because you're at G2, nothing on the line.
Nothing to
playing
lose.
up against a team that they know for a fact they can beat when they pull out something that, even on Fish Market, when you pull out 4 DPS and you're like, we're just messing around at this point. You know you can still beat them. That's when things get really fun because they come into that. And it's like a show match at that point where it's just like, man, what could we do here that would like reduce the amount of chance we have to win, but would look awesome if we pull it out.
Yeah.
So, prediction-wise, G2
They're
across the board.
Somehow get 5 snipers.
SK. What? No, I'm kidding. Given all of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
lengthy
SK wins
mathematical
3.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
deductions.
4-0, SK on top.
Yeah. Easy clap for SK.
Easy clap.
So all of our predictions are locked in coming into the next week. But let's look at some of our top plays from this previous week, starting off with Bittner, who had a lovely moment on the Leon on Bright Marsh here, just right out of the sky.
Oh, yeah. That was sick. I
Lilla
mean, that's
goes
that one
bye-bye.
when I believe I was casting this one. This is the one you see this enlightenment, you hear it, and it's like he's buying time to get his grace back up to slide to safety, right? This is not a realistic shot here that's going to take out Doodle until it does, and then you just pop off, you freak out a little bit. Because it's like that projectile over that distance is hittable. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's hittable. It's a fat one, right? That's you see people get clipped around corners, stuff like that. Realm Royale, fireball-sized hitbox there. But that's such a long shot as well as Willow. She's kind of slippery up in the air, and Tenor gets a good read.
Well, our next top play is Fisheko, and I think Drogo's got a little taken off guard by this King Bomb that rolled right into him, and this is one way to go ahead and send somebody away.
I loved watching this when it happened, just because it was one of those moments that I didn't know what to expect. And I didn't know, I was like, is that stun going to like break just in time for him to try and fall? And it's just so funny watching Drogo's just go bloop.
He's just like in a stunned animation, like, I can't believe you've done this. That was after, a pretty awkward play. So.
But also, number one play, we've mentioned it before, Rubu on the Ash, on Frog Isle, a tremendous sequence of events, the unofficial Ventus. He was all in his lonesome, basically.
And I mean, this could have even been a little bit longer. Like the stuff he did leading up to this, he like 2v1'd with his ultimate. He hits that shoulder bash, which was really big. I don't know where the hell Aspect was going, but it definitely looked nice. And then he gets this nice little shield dance here. Still had plenty of HP to go around. Like I said, that was the 3K after he had dove into the back. Like that was Envy. Like they were trying to take this back, right? He just yeets into the back line, hits his ultimate, 2v1s, comes back, kills all 3, and I'm just like, I can't. I mean, he did so much up to that point that I was like, Envy have to win this fight after he does that. And then they start to lose it, and then Rubu's just like, nope, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take this one. Y'all mind if I swag on him real quick?
And for me, that was like such an important moment, specifically for like Ash to have that happen on too, because like every team I think up to this point that's been pulling around has been like, well, she's okay, but like why pick her over anybody else? And
Exactly.
Rubu's just like, hey guys, watch.
And I don't even think he had gotten like any healing during that as well. So like
No, he was just fighting.
He just did a good
Good
job.
old-fashioned
A lot of
brawl
people were
fest.
dead.
Sustaining, yeah. I think it helped a little bit. I don't know. Aspect must have been like either running to the point, because like you saw him take off from stairs and just sort of like, I don't know where he was going. That's a dead end, right? It's a dead end in that little like corner. And maybe he was going to try and snake his way on the point. But then I feel like he wasn't, because unless communication started to break down, that's likely in that type of scenario. It gets a little bit hairy when this Victor's kind of like running, trying to touch point. Rubu turns around and there's already a buck there, and it's like if that was communicated, maybe Aspect stays back there, stays alive, and puts some more pressure onto that Ash. But I'm surprised Rubu stayed as healthy as he did. I believe he had 2,800 HP, I think, when it all fell apart, when it was all said and done.
Well, guys, we are going to sit here at the desk and watch this interview we all have for you in just a moment. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We got to interview a lot of people over this past week and everything, and I know we're putting, I believe it's viral for Renegades, and we're ready to go. So let's take a listen.
Guys, here we are for the interview for Esports Weekly. My name is Rainday, and I'm joined by Viral from the Renegades here in the PPL. Viral, first off, how are you doing today, man?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I woke up. I got a nice sweater on. It's a little hot outside, but inside, the sweater is key. Trust me, it's really chilly in this room. But let's talk about kind of some of the ice in your veins. I think you've made some big plays for Renegades this season, and it's been a big transformative year for you guys. I want to know, how do you feel not only about your personal performance, but the growth you've seen from your team thus far, and being able to be considered really a top 2, 3, maybe 1 team, depending on a couple of your performances later on in the season?
I'm extremely happy from how everything started when I came onto the Renegades and to where we are right now. You know, it was at the start, it was really rough, and we're trying to iron things out. And now I'm happy. Like I see that we can. There's a lot of room for growth, and we're not. We can do so much more, and I'm excited to finally get all the way up there.
Yeah, you guys aren't at your ceiling at all. It's weird, a team like, and I hate to do a negative here in an interview about you, but I look at SK this season and I say, have they hit that wall? Have they gotten to where they can go? Is there another level? But I think when people watch you and they watch the Renegades, there's so much there, and they're growing each week and they're showing it. That's a pretty exciting thing. You've earned a lot of fans across, I think, the country watching, and obviously internationally here. My second thing is, let's talk about you. Let's figure out where you're from. Where are you from, by the way, Viral?
Miami.
Oh, so you're in Florida.
Yeah.
So when you're out of here, your shirt's off. So you're not even worried about. I got the sweater on. Your shirt's off at the beach.
The beach, pool, everywhere, man.
Everywhere. So that's the laid-back nature of Miami. Are you a Miami native? Have you grown up, lived there?
Yeah, born and raised.
Wow. So that's pretty cool, man. I mean, really representing the full East Coast near the water. I'm a LA kid, so I know what it's like being on a coast as well. It's a great time. How did you get into gaming and playing video games and playing Paladins specifically?
Getting into Paladins specifically, I came from Overwatch, and I enjoyed it at first, and then I wanted something different. And then I came into Paladins, and I enjoyed the whole, you can buy items, you can make builds, you can do
depth, yeah.
You can customize to your own kind of play style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really caught me and really got my attention.
And clearly it's kept you as well. I think a lot of people have been seeing you, if you follow you on Twitter, and I think it's RNG_viral, or it's something viral.
RNG viral.
RNG viral. So make sure to follow him on Twitter. You've been tweeting a lot of Realm Royale as well, man. So you've been spending some time. You play Paladins.
Right.
You don't get a game you like, you go ahead, you switch up to Realm, and then you go back to Paladins. How's that been as an experience, just for fun? How have you been enjoying the new game?
For fun, I'm addicted. The game is. I haven't enjoyed a game like that since, the addiction wise.
Yeah.
I want to say wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that was way back, and now it kind of gave me that little kid feeling. So, yeah, that game's really good.
That's great to hear, man. Hopefully it doesn't interrupt your scrims or time practicing Paladins, but it's great to see you enjoying yourself and on Twitter talking about how you're having fun. Last but not least, man, this is a pivotal moment. I think a pivotal season. You guys have gotten this far to be able to make a conversation again about making top 2 at LAN. There's been this history of you guys going to LAN because someone else couldn't. And I know that that's something you guys want to usurp and overthrow by taking down Envy and having an opportunity to really take that second spot. How do you feel going into this last week about changing the tide, changing the conversation around that piece?
Just being able to have that chance to finally be a solid top 2 and not just being either tied or just being invited. We really want to do that, and we have that chance, and I think we can do it. We've been in MV before. I think we can do it again.
Awesome. Well, we'll just be looking out for some more hear me out moments from you and the rest of your team. Enjoy the beach, man. Stop spending time with me on this camera. Go hang out. I'd be at the coast if I could. That's going to do it for our Esports weekly interview with Renegades Viral. I'm Rain Day, and we'll send it back to the desk for some more.
Later.
The boys from the 305. I like it.
Boy. It's just one. Just one of him.
The boy, apostrophe S as in boy, is from the 305.
I don't think that's how apostrophes work.
You can use it in a All right, I'm not going to get into grammar with you. But anyway.
It turned into a school lesson real quick.
Yeah, I can go
Thought I
back
was
to my
done.
teaching.
I got
notes.
out.
Bust out the blackboard.
Well, moving a bit onto that, let's go to a different type of lesson, and it is going to be meta. And we actually had some changes that were talked about between Maeve and Xin, so I want to get your thoughts on those.
I think they're going to be kind of interesting to see, and I want to know, like, I don't think it's going to pull anybody, either of the two, out of, like, priority. I think Maeve is going to shift from, like, oh man, we have to ban her, we have to first pick her, to, like,
Yeah.
4th, 5th. She'll come in, and she will be essential for your team composition. She's still really good, especially against, like, double frontline, but she's not going to be as good.
I think Zin's going to get hurt a little bit more than Maeve here. He's only losing 100 damage in total. His first 2 swings are going down from 450 to 400. That, it hurts his luminary scaling a fair bit. It brings, Yomi down. Guillotine, just by relativity, it's going to be a little bit more important, I think, to be able to bring him in for that. Does he fall all the way out? Maybe, because he's already kind of on the cusp, right? He's not making it into a ton of games as it is. However, the Maeve changes I feel really good about. I think she'll still be in a fine spot.
Yeah.
She's only losing 5% of her damage on Street Justice, and she's losing a little bit of both intensity and duration of her damage reduction cards, which already, to me, don't make a ton of sense, right? She's this tiny, fast-moving little girl, and it doesn't make sense that she should be able to get Inara levels of damage reduction relatively for free.
Last week we were talking about, and this is specifically for Zen, how the fact that he was still being picked up even though without having to, like, you didn't have to prioritize Genos anymore, even though that was
Right.
like the combo in the first split. I'm kind of curious to see if it's one of those things that he still stays relevant, but it goes back to that we have to get both of them to make sure that he stays on top, to still get that damage, to make sure it still hits the same way, or if there's going to be those players, those teams that think, we don't have to exactly have him work the way that he used to. We can still just deal
Right.
with a little bit of damage off the top.
You still got a couple of teams that'll run for Guillotine every now and then, but it's more comp dependent.
Yeah.
I think when you've got the guys that love to run the Zen, when you've got the creatives, when you've got the Bugsies out there that really just do play a lot of the character, and maybe Evil Eye can be thrown in that pool as well, I think, and it's tough because a lot of those guys play Maeve as well, and if she's making it through more, then we'll probably, if she's banned out less, I think we see less Zin as well. So, I don't know. The guys that played a lot will probably still play it when Maeve's banned out, but I think overall Maeve's going to be in a good spot. Zin may disappear a little bit.
I'm curious to see how things do shake out and the players respond, see if they come up with any creative strategies. But that goes for our discussion. And the next part, it's the lightning round.
I like this part.
Do
Look
you?
forward to this every week.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it.
You sound so excited.
What's our topic this week? Do we have a theme?
Yep, it's learn your lore.
What was last week? Was that support? Was that the support week?
No, last week was Pally Pal, so players and their champions.
Oh yeah. Such cute names.
Pally Pal.
But
all right, let's
now
get this.
It's learn your lore, so I will give you the
Your
info
lore. All right. Well, you win.
all
I mean, I'm not. My lore. I have a lot of lore in my head, but it's like so scrambled because I've heard like over the years just like little tidbits of things, and oh no, it's gonna be this way actually. So I'm a little scatterbrained with my
Well, I
lore.
also have all the stuff I've made up for myself where I'm like, yeah, this makes way more sense. I want this to be the way it works. And so, like, for me, a lot
Your
of
own
things are like, man,
stories.
is that Drogo's real lore? Or is that something I made up one day? And I was like, hey, that sounds pretty fun.
And I've only read each. I've read each like paragraph that they have in game once, and then I saw this flowchart on Reddit that was actually really cool of like, this guy cursed this guy, used to be friends with this, Lex and Andra used to be buddies, they broke up, and then had a falling out, whatever. So it was a really cool thing, but that's kind of it. That's like the extent of my knowledge, is my scatterbrained like serial killer flowchart.
Well, I tried to mix some words.
Serial killer flowchart.
With like the
Yes.
strings and the.
It is accessible information. I feel like some of these, like,
All right.
I tried not to make
If
it
you say so.
too,
Now, see, this
too
is going to make us
crazy.
feel even worse.
You gotta
when we get it all wrong.
put like one just like stupid hard question every week.
I
To
can
see
do
if
that.
anyone bites on it, just to lose points. Maybe we'll make it the last question. You don't lose points, but you just like, I don't know,
Yeah,
take
just
a
like
shot
a
in the
bonus
dark.
or something.
I don't know. How hard could you get? You asked one question last week that was really tough. I can't remember exactly what it was. Probably because it was so hard.
I think you're trying to stall because you don't want to answer these
Hey,
questions.
let's get it.
Alrighty, so each answer is a champion name. I make a statement about the lore, and you answer what champion I'm talking about.
Okay.
Cool? Alright. So, number 1. This champion is considered the spirit of the forest.
Grover?
Yeah. Oh, there we
I
go.
was thinking that, but I was like, I don't actually know if that's true. He's just a tree. He's a happy boy.
I don't know. I could see Grover having some very meme-worthy lore.
Oh,
That's
man,
like,
that'd be great.
yeah.
Grover was actually an
'cause
axe
that's-
murderer who got turned into a tree.
See, but I've heard that before. That's what I'm saying is like,
Well,
I have heard like, oh, a lumberjack started to like cut him down, and then Grover just like sprung to life, took his axe, killed the lumberjack, and I was like, is that really a thing?
He was awake at some point to fight some evil being, and then he like went back to sleep into a dormant state, and then came back because of like industrialism, humans infecting the forest and everything. So he came back to fight against that.
Grover's sick.
Sylvanas brought him to life.
Grover's
Come on, guys.
sick. Yeah, see, does that line up?
I have no idea.
Does that line up? Did we just
It
change? Because like in Smite, it's like how much lore do you have to write? Like they're gods.
It's a god.
They
He
have,
brought a tree to
they
life.
have-
That's all he had.
They
They
don't
have
say how he
backstories.
came back. As far as
Yeah.
what I was looking, it was just that he was up, then he was dormant for a bit, and then so it could have easily been.
Here's the real question:
Sylvanas
Does he
or
still have
something.
the owl living in his chest?
I don't know.
Oh well, that's.
Is that how he's
kinda
powered?
creepy.
Like a hamster wheel?
Are y'all
Alright,
ready
let's
for
go.
question number 2? As a noble lawman of the Outer Tribunal.
Lex.
No. You just forfeited, and if you would have heard the rest of it, you would have got it.
Ooh.
So,
I even.
Igor,
Yeah.
yep, you get as a noble lawman of the Outer Tribunal Circuit Judges, this champion once served as Lex's partner in their pursuit of criminals.
That's Androxus.
Yes, you were just saying this.
Yeah, I know.
And
They
if
were
you
buddy
would have
cops.
just
I still want. I've actually mentioned this on my stream before. I want a like mini series that is like Androxus and Lex buddy cop before Androxus was cursed.
Oh man,
love it.
that's funny.
patience, my friends.
Yeah, I jumped the gun on that
Yep.
one. Definitely jumped the gun on that
When
one.
she said like lawman, I was like, that seems like way too obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've told you I wanted to, you know, like
There we go.
toss something.
feels bad.
All right.
Frisbee.
Number 3. As a mercenary, this half Tigran champion sells their skills and agility to the highest bidder.
Maeve?
Maeve.
Half what?
Half Tigran,
Tigran.
apparently.
Is that like her eyes? I guess she does have
Yeah.
like the cat eyes. I guess tiger eyes. My bad. Don't want to
But-
assume anyone's species.
Yeah, I didn't
in the
realize
realm.
that she was actually
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know
half
she,
something.
I didn't know she had like a. I mean, I guess it makes sense. She double jumps, right? You can't
Yeah.
just do that.
So yeah,
Normally.
it's not
That's
very
not. That's not a
human.
thing you can just do.
Right. Question number 4.
All right.
Before an oracle offered her an escape, this champion was cursed by a bloodline that bound them to their homeland.
Furia.
No.
Leon?
No.
Damn.
So you both get.
Hang on. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
I just
so
want to.
now I just want to know.
I just
'cause you
want to think
both
through this.
Got it. So,
Oh no. Yeah.
well, you already got the mindset. So if you have a guess, you
Read
can
through
Is it
it.
just-
Cassie?
It's Cassie.
Oh. Read the thing again.
So it's before an oracle offered them an escape. This champion was cursed by a bloodline that bound them to their homeland.
Okay,
so
that does
she and her
sound
family
right.
are there, and then she left with nothing but her crossbow and zigs, and left everything else behind to go and fight.
yeah.
But she wasn't able to leave.
She
until
got
an
like
oracle
her
gave her
was
the
like
power.
her dad was like, no, you can't go.
Yeah, it's like the
fighting the
family
thing.
and all that have to be bound there. So then she was like locked there, and then an
Wow.
oracle was like, "I'll let you go, but
Okay.
you have to leave stuff."
Was that Sarah's or just like generic Oracle number 2?
I didn't look into it.
Generic
It just said
oracle number
oracle.
in the realm.
Alright.
All right.
Oracle of the Not Abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are? Oh, y'all are
We're both at
at
0.
0.
Yeah.
We up, down.
I was
down.
gonna say we have nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
That's not true.
So-
I've been in the red.
So if one of you gets this question, then you just win. It comes down to one question.
Is
in
that
the
already
end.
the fifth
You
one?
ready?
Are we already on the fifth
No,
question?
this is the 5th question. Yeah.
Oh wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Number 5. After becoming an instrument of war, this champion lost their mind and memories. Their body now bound.
Terminus.
Yeah, Terminus. Bound by dark sorcery
I almost.
and magic crystals.
I'm glad I messed up the Lex one because I was about to slam Ash because you said instrument of warfare and she was
That's
all.
that's what I thought.
I almost said Ash.
Yeah. It ain't the dead ash.
Boy,
it's Terminus.
the ups and downs of this lightning round
Yeah.
have really just taken the audience on a journey. I can tell.
So I hope
Unbuckle your
everyone-
seatbelts, deep breaths at home. All right, it's over.
It's really cool to read up on how a lot of these are interconnected and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll allow you to celebrate your victory. And I believe there's a theme to our meme video this week. So let's
This is too
take a
gory.
look. Too
What could
gory.
that
Rated
entail?
M for gore. What did I do this week?
Let's go ahead and find out. Only PGS match match of the day. We have PPL happening later on at 3 p.m. And then tomorrow we round things out with both CIS. I mean, if you want to tune in.
Release the brainstorm to make your mother brain warm. A strange form, something kind of lyrical. Biggie the bastard, so that's kind of spiritual. Well, in God we trust, guns are busts, stop that disgusting.
Buck is a big boy. Big thick boy.
Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's thick.
Yeet!
Dope money just came along.
God
It's
damn.
nice when you get all the dumb stuff you do in like a certain time period and they just stack it together. I love it.
That was awesome, man.
I love the Dyrus tweet that was just thrown in there for a second, too.
Oh.
The Paladins is actually a good game.
Oh my God, man. Who was that other guy? Who was the dude with the Buck like portrait thing?
Yeah,
in the
I don't know.
background? I've never
seen that one.
He kind of looked like Buck. He was
Yeah,
bald.
that's why I was
Joe
like,
is
is
our
he about
resident
to be
memologist.
Buck?
He's on top
man.
of it.
He knows where to go, man.
Joe's been, man.
Boy.
He a thick boy.
So many gore moments.
Those are clean. Those are really good, really good moments. Yeah, Dyrus. I remember I caught that moment on Dyrus' stream where he was talking like, and he loves the heirloom rifle in Realm Royale, and he's like, I actually went and played Paladins, and I really actually like that character that has the heirloom rifle in that game. She's really fun.
Good impression, man.
How's that a good Dyrus?
Yeah.
That's solid.
Give it like a solid 8 out of 10.
Oh man, he's a fun. I've never actually seen him before. He's a funny
I've
dude.
watched a bunch of. I mean, when he was a pro player,
He's like a
and stuff
league,
like, that too.
top laner, right?
Yeah, he used to be, but now like he's streaming stuff. He's
just
all in
out
that
in the
Realm
wild.
Royale.
Yeah.
He's going hard with it. So I dig it. But also, we do have another league to talk about, and it's the Paladins Global Series. We now know all of our teams that are coming down to the LAN.
Do we have the list? So it's got to be Space Station, Burrito, Kanga,
Yep.
and then Armada and CIS.
It was Armada and CIS because they won 3-1
And
over
then
Euphoria.
Gangstars.
Clown
Wolfpack.
Fiesta.
Gangstars.
Oh, yeah, wait, Clown Fiesta was EU. Yeah. So that was definitely like the big. I mean, Wolfpack qualified last time. They just weren't able to make it, right? And Wolfpack has kind of been around, and Fizzle was at DreamHack Valencia starting a year ago when we first got to CSEA. So really, yeah, Clown Fiesta I think is the big one out of Europe. Everything else is kind of according to plan, I would say.
Yeah.
I was kind of upset because we didn't get to broadcast it, so I went back and watched the Russian broadcast for it, which I did not understand a thing of what they were saying. But I was watching, Armada versus Euphoria, and I was kind of excited for that because it was Ovum versus MTZ for me.
Yeah.
But that was the only time the last game ended with a Dragon Punch lined up on an Inara, and like the game ends as he's channeling it, and then on the victory screen you just see him come in and bop her.
I would
like
love
she
to
doesn't
see
die,
that.
but he just goes.
She
like,
doesn't die. She's just like untargetable.
She just stands there and he goes buzz.
Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, some of these were expected. Clown Fiesta coming through was very interesting to see. And that match, if I remember correctly, was pretty much a brawl as well. It didn't easily go in anyone's favor.
Absolutely. You've got Frostbite as well. So you had We Love Gaming. You had Blazing Hussars, right? And Cryptic as well. Gore, you cast the most of this region. And then these two just out of nowhere? I mean, what's the deal?
They've been around for a bit, and they're always in those phase finals. But yeah, those other teams are the ones we just see more often. So Clown Fiesta now have finally pushed it all the way through for that victory that mattered.
Europe's just taking this weird turn where for a long time it really was just it was Cryptic. It was just Cryptic. And then all of a sudden you had Blazing Hussars come through, which I actually think Blazing Hussars there were like way earlier. But once Cryptic kind of got founded and established, they were the ones regularly winning.
Yeah.
Blazing Hussars wins the one that gets them to land. Cryptic wins the next one. That's usually how things were going. And Clown Fiesta just kind of was like the people who were really good on all these other teams who got fed up losing to those other two.
Is that Nixus on that in? I mean, I don't cast a lot of the EU, but I'm going to be honest, I don't recognize a damn name in that kill feed. So that's all you guys when it comes to the mass. I don't think I've ever seen any of those players.
They're all pretty good.
Yeah? All right.
I give them a thumbs up.
Give them
I'm just curious because like last
more
time,
thumbs up.
What is it? Gangstars versus We Love Gaming, which was Blazing Hussars, and Gangstars handled them. Like readily. So it's one of those moments I'm kind of hoping Clown Fiesta comes in and has like a better performance overall.
Sure.
It'll be interesting. See how everything shakes out. We have our teams from the PGS that we've kind of expected to rattle things up a bit, but we're waiting to see who does it this time around. So that does it for the PGS. As far as what we've got going this week, there is no PGS broadcast because everyone qualified for the LAN, so we're taking a break from that. We have PPL happening at 3 p.m. from Tuesdays through Fridays, and then Console today at 3 p.m. where we will have our PS4 match. So any last thoughts before we wrap things up?
Watch at least Tuesday and Friday. Those are the big games. Tuesday and Friday, and the memes in betweens. That's my final statement. Memes in betweens. Definitely watch whatever the hell's going to happen in G2SK as well at the very end to bookend the summer split.
A lot to look forward to, everybody. We're about to head into our final week of this summer split before we hit LAN territory. Thanks for joining us on Esports Weekly. We'll see you in just a bit for our console series, but until then, stay cool, friends.